about you, but I absolutely love to entertain. On any given weekend, you will find our home packed with people because we're the place where people like to gather. And that's exactly the way I love it. But how do you do that while sticking to a low-carb lifestyle? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today as we dive in with one of my all-time favorite cookbook authors, Natasha Newton. So get ready for this. It's going to be fun. Welcome to the Ditch the Carbs podcast, brought to you by Thinlicious. I'm your host, Ruth Sukup, and here we'll talk about everything from the science of weight loss and metabolic flexibility to practical tips for making your health a priority in the midst of a very busy life. It's the perfect blend of insightful education, practical application, and good old-fashioned motivation. So buckle up, friend, because it's about to get real. Hey there, and welcome to the Ditch the Carbs podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruth Sukup, and I'm the founder of Thinlicious and the Thin Adapted System, as well as the New York Times bestselling author of 7 books. And in today's episode, I'm so excited to chat with one of my very favorite low-carb cookbook authors, Natasha Newton, about what it looks like from a practical sense to entertain while adhering to a low-carb lifestyle. And we're going to get to that interview in just a second. But first, I wanted to give you one quick reminder, which is that if you are new to this podcast and new to the low-carb lifestyle, then I have created an amazing new resource for you that is going to be so helpful. It is a free on-demand video training called How to Lose Weight and Get Healthy for Life Without Dieting, Drugs, or Making Yourself Miserable. And it really seriously is so helpful. It walks you through some of the big reasons you've probably struggled to lose weight in the past and how you can do things differently. And like I said, it's totally free. My gift to you, just go to thinlicious.com/video to get it. Again, that URL is thinlicious.com/video. Got it? Okay, good. So with that out of the way, I am very excited to introduce you to today's expert interview guest, Natasha Newton. Like I said, she is the author of best-selling books, Southern Keto and Southern Keto Beyond the Basics, which are literally some of my favorite cookbooks. And she's so good at making low carb and keto cooking feel both simple and absolutely delicious. Because honestly, if you're new to the low carb lifestyle, inviting guests over might feel a little intimidating, right? Especially if you're used to serving up all of those tried and true carb-filled favorites. But I'm telling you right now, you can still be the hostess with the mostest without going completely off the rails. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So without further ado, here is my interview with Natasha Newton. So Natasha, thank you so much for being here. Like I said, I'm just so happy to have you.
So honored. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. I appreciate it.
Oh, so I just want to start by hearing a little bit of your story and how you even started down this path in the first place. Like what inspired you to start writing cookbooks and to let you take on this low carb journey in the first place?
Well, honestly, it's kind of a blur because I started sharing on social media. And I think it was 2015. And I was just sharing my journey privately. No one in my family even knew about it. I just saw that people were, kind of had these little groups online and kind of encouraged each other, in weight loss and food. And that's back when we would just put a picture of our lunch and stuff. And so it goes back to me just struggling with my weight all of my life. Like it's just been up and down since I was like 9 years old, put on a medically supervised diet and it's a lot of baggage that brings me to this point. But when I got on Instagram and I started sharing, and making friends on there and sharing pictures of my food, and I was learning, how to eat this way. We didn't have very many products back in 2015, 2016. I was learning what I could eat and I was experimenting. And people would say, well, can I have the recipe for that? And so I would share it and I was always sharing, and it kind of just gradually snowballed into me sharing full recipes. And fast forward, I released Southern Keto in 2018, and I still struggled with imposter syndrome. I guess I've learned that there's a word for it.
Yes.
And struggled with, people really liked the book and liked the recipes. And so I wrote another one. And I'm still, when you talk about how much you love the recipes, it still blows my mind. People love the recipes, but I think it was about me. The whole journey started about me, but I became passionate about helping other people and about the recipes and just learning and teaching people, that, and to be accessible to people. And that's why I think Southern Keto has been popular, is the recipes are very easy.
Yes.
The ingredients are accessible. I really make a point to try to make it, you might have to order one or two things in my book. In all my books, but I really want it to be accessible.
Yeah, no, it's normal ingredients, it's normal food, and it's food that your whole family will eat. It's like comfort food, and it's so good. And I think that's what actually sold me on the low carb lifestyle to begin with, is realizing that you can just eat this really great food that you don't even have to tell your family it's low carb or keto, right? Like they just are like, this is so good. They don't know, and they don't need to know. And that's the part that I love about it. And you can tell like your love of food comes out in your cookbook. So did you always like love to cook before? Was that a thing before you did? Really?
No. Well, I grew up, if you read the front part of Southern Keto, I really, was inspired by my grandma. She was the best cook. And, back then, our grandparents didn't have like a lot of, crazy ingredients. The food was simple. And so I was inspired by watching her cook. I really didn't have to cook. My mother didn't love to cook. She was the oldest of 8 kids, and she really didn't like to cook. So it kind of skipped a generation. When I got married, I really loved learning to cook. And I taught myself to cook using Southern Living magazines and, like Taste of Home, stuff like that. I just taught myself recipes. And then, as time went on, I realized that I could, kind of veer away from the recipe and experiment. So most people think that I just grew up cooking, and no, I really taught myself in the 90s. So I'm 48 years old. So I started learning. And then when I started learning, teaching myself how to substitute, it just became like really, I love the process of creating a recipe that might be something that you used to love. Like that's so fun for me. Yes.
Where you can like recreate it and you can have it and you can feel good about it.
Yes. That's been the whole challenge of all my books. And it is comfort food. I would say definitely it all revolves around comfort food. And it's kind of funny that my life, it's not really funny, but my life kind of revolved around food in a bad way. And I feel like that I've kind of turned that around and used it for good.
Yeah.
So, in a way.
Yeah. So you ended up losing quite a bit of weight then through this.
I used to be over 300 pounds. I don't put many pictures. You'll see, you can look at the pictures in my first 2 books. Mm-hmm. I don't put as many pictures online because people started stealing the photos. Mm. Yeah. They do that online with before and after pictures. They steal them and they try to sell diet pills and stuff. So I really got more, I know I hate that because people want to see that, but I really got more private about what I share as far as before and after. But I will tell you that I used to be over 300 pounds and I was just miserable. I was, and then I got Crohn's disease. I have we could talk way too long about just me. But in 2004, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. When I started this journey, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I really just wanted to lose weight. That's all I wanted. It's all I cared about. I was going to be 40 soon. And, maybe I was 40, but I just wanted to lose weight. But what I found out is that not eating sugar made me feel better. And it really helped my inflammation markers having Crohn's disease. Yeah. So really, I don't talk about that a lot because I don't want to come from a medical standpoint, do this, follow me, because, I'm not qualified to give medical advice. but it has helped me so much with the symptoms of Crohn's disease. I do still take medication because I had a very, very serious, I had part of my intestines removed. Like I've been seriously ill for 2 decades. But I'm telling you, there's a huge difference, and I can even look at it on the chart of my blood work that the inflammation levels, even on medicine, came down.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. And so probably, I mean, you don't even need an incentive to continue eating this way.
No. Yeah. And it's still like, you want to feel good. You want to look good in your clothes. Like the largest I was wearing, I had to order a dress to wear. It was like a 28-30, and we all start at different points. So I really don't like to talk, compare sizes and weights and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's about getting to a place where you feel good, where your clothes fit good and stuff. And for me personally, I just wanted to be able to walk into a store and buy clothes off the rack. And I had not been able to do that. I had gotten to where, like, even at a plus size store, the largest stuff, it's just hard to even remember that far back, but the largest things did not fit me. And I felt bad, it wasn't even just about looks. I felt horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of people with Crohn's disease are underweight, but I wasn't.
Right. Yeah. I have a really close friend with Crohn's disease, and
you can't compare. Yeah. You can't compare everyone's, we're just all different.
It's awful. And to know that there's something that will at least just alleviate some of the symptoms and things too. And and there's so many things that it changes when this lifestyle with inflammation, not just Crohn's, but chronic inflammation and autoimmune diseases and so many things. And I always say,
got into my life for that, even though it started out to be just weight loss. Yeah.
You start because you want to fit into your different clothes, right?
Yes.
You stay and you keep with it because it just
because you feel better. And all it takes is going off plan and eating stuff you shouldn't to remind you that, you know what, I feel better when, and you're not deprived. That's what I told someone, I'm like, I did not think that you could lose weight and not be deprived.
Yes.
So I was the 9-year-old girl eating, and everything was fat-free back then. Snack wheels, cookies.
Yes.
And rice. Yeah, you're traumatized by me saying
I know. I remember that was me in high school eating rice cakes and snack wells. And
yes. In our house. And my parents, I always like to throw this in here that I don't blame them. They were doing the best they could. Neither one of them had a weight problem, and they didn't struggle with their weight at all. And they just didn't know what to do for me, and they just did the best they could. So, now that I'm a parent, we just do the best we can.
I know, it's so much easier to have grace for your parents once you are a parent. Okay, let's talk a little bit about entertaining. I feel like we could talk about this all day, but because your newest book, which is, like I said, it's really good. I've only had it for a week. I've only made one recipe so far in here, but I've bookmarked a bunch of them. And the one that I made was the lasagna soup, and it was so freaking good. It was so good.
I love that. I'm biased. Everything you say, I'm going to be like, I love that.
No, seriously, you guys, it was amazing. It was ridiculously good. My whole family was like, this is the best soup we've ever had. So
there's so many good things in there. I have mine right here. It has 115 recipes in it. And I just had so much fun making this stuff. And it's so much fun because it gave me an excuse to have people over and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, when you are you don't want to give up your life. You know what I mean? When you change the way that you eat. And I feel like that's where, that's what you're saying. When so many diets, it's deprivation. You're eating food that you don't even like to eat, much less wouldn't ever think about serving it to other people. So you're either in this situation where you have to shut yourself off from the world so you're not tempted, or blow your diet, or have all these people go, well, why aren't you eating? Why aren't you doing it? Don't you want this? Don't you want this? Whereas this way of eating, you can cook for everybody and they're all happy and they don't even know it.
And I've been on all sides of that you're talking about. I've been on the deprivation side of it and dreading events, dreading going places or dreading having people over and stuff. And over the years when I was on different diets, I've been on every diet you can imagine. Like I could go on and on. If there is a commercial diet, a 3-day military diet, like diet, you can say I've been on all of them.
Relatable.
It is kind of also about finding a balance too of getting together and eating with people and not feeling deprived. It's just about finding the balance and not focusing too much, hyper focusing on what you can't have.
Yes. Yes. So what are your favorite occasions for having guests over and for entertaining?
We're really laid back. I made this, like the book is, let me start with the book is for any holiday. I didn't do it by seasons because I want it to be for people, whether they're having a celebration for 2 people or 20 people. I want it to be inclusive for every holiday. So for us, we're very laid back and we love our football, tailgating parties, stuff like that, summer outs by the pool. Like that's our thing. Like we're pretty casual, but we do love. And that's when you said about learning to cook. I tell a story. I don't know if it's in one of my books or something, but even when we had this tiny apartment, I, love to have a few people over and cook for them.
Yes. So. Because I'm like that too. Like our house is always the house where people gather, right? Yes. We're like the neighborhood hangout spot for our friends. Yes. Everybody's always coming over to our house. And I love that.
I love it.
And I want to be the one that
not everyone loves it. And if you love it, you should embrace that.
If you love it, you should. And I think so often, I've written about this in my other brands and my other stuff, but friendships, especially for women and a certain age, are so
community.
Hard.
Yes.
It's so hard to make friends, but when you're the person who just invites people over, I'm like, it's pretty easy, especially when you give away free booze, everybody comes over.
I love to entertain. And it's not just about, and I would love for people to know this too. We put some beautiful photos in the book and everything, but it doesn't have to be fancy and you don't have to have a lot of money. Hospitality is about the way you make people feel, And so it's more about that, you don't have to have a lot of decoration. I did put stuff in there about setting a table and where you can find things for serving pieces and stuff like that. Like my favorite places to get them, like Home Goods, stuff like that. I put fun things in the book, but I want people to know that the recipes are for everyone, whether you're celebrating a great report card or an anniversary, or you're going to, have a dinner party for 20.
Yeah. Yes, it's so true. And and I love that too, that it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be intimidating. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can just be like, here's like, give people, like I said, give people a couple cocktails and this great bowl of soup and they are happy as can be. And that's not hard.
Yeah. And I do talk about alcohol in the book and different types of lower carb alcohols. And, that's a personal decision. Also, I mentioned in the book, making sure to provide drinks for people who don't drink alcohol. That's important.
Yeah, that absolutely is. So what are some of the biggest hesitations that you hear from people who are doing low carb, but are a little bit hesitant about entertaining? What are your biggest pieces of advice?
A lot of people just don't want, it's intimidating, and they don't want to do it alone. And one of the things I tell people is to make sure you ask for help. You don't have to do it all alone. Enlist help.
Yeah.
Especially, like I put in there like a potluck list. I also talked about people either love or hate a potluck. Some people hate the idea of a potluck.
Yeah.
But I think it's fun, and you can, and I also said this, you're worried about what they're going to bring. You could give them a list. You could even send them the recipe. Hey, make this will help me.
Yeah.
So, there's lots of ways. A lot of people and like I said, if it's a burden to entertain, well, maybe that might not be your gift. I feel like you and I were talking about this, like we kind of have the gift of maybe service and stuff. Yes, like we love to do that. But my mother does not like to do that. She loves to come to my house and she has so much fun coming, but my mother will tell you that's not her thing. And I tell her, she'll be like, I'll bring paper plates. And I'm like, that's okay. It's okay if it's not your thing.
Right. No, and I think that's totally true. And actually that is fine with me, because when you have one person who loves to do it and you need people who will actually show up. And I love that I have people who will always say yes, right? And every time I invite them, they always say yes. They always come over. And so I never have to feel like, rejected that I'm going to throw this party and nobody's going to show up. No, I think that's important too. So if you're the show up person, know that that's appreciated, and just show up and bring something.
Yes. And we have fun. I've been blessed with some friends that also love to cook and eat the same way I do. So we have so much fun, like, what are we going to have? And I'll bring this, and, we love to collaborate with what we're going to have,
That is so huge. We actually have several couples in our neighborhood as well who also eat this way. And so, we have like chili night on Sunday nights, and we do pizza night on Friday nights. And it's where we'll cook together, or one person will host. And it's so fun. It is so fun. And it does make it so much easier to feel like you get to still have a life. And you're not sacrificing anything.
Right.
Again, because the food is delicious and you're eating together and you're fellowshipping and all
that.
I
missed that so much the last few years. And that's really where the idea for the book came for me. Was we were kind of coming to a point, I think it was I had finished the second book of, it was 2021. And I thought we were coming out of the pandemic more, and we weren't. How it was kind of up and down as far as gatherings and stuff. And I was like, I really miss that. And that's where the idea for this book came, is I just wanted to, and I called it Let's Celebrate, because I just wanted to celebrate something.
I love it. So what are some of your best tips and tricks for when you are entertaining to basically make it as easy as possible, or to pre-prepare, so that, because I've noticed that some people who get a little nervous with entertaining, like they want to entertain, but then they're so busy doing all the stuff that they can't enjoy themselves. So how do you?
I put a little plan of what list you need. I love lists. I'm a list maker.
Mm-hmm.
So I did put a little plan ahead list in here, and it kind of tells you what to do a month ahead, 2 weeks ahead, 1 week ahead. So definitely planning ahead is key. And at the end, if you'll look at the recipes in this book, I put, if something could be made ahead, I talked about that. So let me find one, like can be made 1 day ahead.
Nice.
Like the salami balls can be made 1 day ahead.
So to prep ahead as much as
3 days ahead.
So, that's nice. Yeah.
Right. The jalapeno popper cheese ball can be made 3 days ahead, stored in an airtight. Like I gave tips like that to help, because anything you can do ahead of time, really you should, if you're doing a very large event, you should have most of the work done by the day of.
Yeah.
Should be
just kind of relax.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's not any fun if you can't enjoy yourself too. That's going to take the fun out of it. Yeah.
Right. So do you have any, have you ever had any entertaining disasters where you're like, I'm never doing that again?
No, nothing, because our friends and stuff are so laid back. So no,
there hasn't been anything like that. I feel like we just had, it wasn't quite a disaster. But it was we're like, yeah, I don't think we're going to do that again. We every Christmas Eve, we throw this big brunch, and at noon on Christmas Eve.
That sounds fun. I love brunch.
I love brunch too. And it's fun because we provide, what we did this year is we did prime rib, in a roaster.
Oh, that's good.
Then we did, we got a ham that was a pre-done ham, like a honey baked ham. And so we provided that stuff. And then, and we had, Bloody Marys and mimosas, and then people brought stuff. But one thing here's what I learned, because the year before I had done what you said, and I had a sign up for everything.
Yes.
And so told we need a potato dish. We need this. And this year I was like, people will bring good stuff. It's fine. Yeah, people do not bring good stuff. So, and then there wasn't enough variety of stuff. Yeah. What did you say?
You really have to be specific and, delegate those things out that you really want to have.
Yes. And we also decided that the prime rib, even though it was really good, it made it so my husband couldn't, like, the first hour, he was so stressed, like trying to finish that up and get it carved and everything, that we had wished that we didn't. Like, I don't think we'll do prime rib again next year. We'll just do a bigger ham or something, because that part was really, what'd you say?
Unless you have it made ahead.
Yes. Unless you did it ahead of time. But I think it's just like when you start to overcomplicate it, and that's what you were saying, like, do as much as you can ahead of time and then don't overcomplicate it. Our other problem was that we live in Florida. So our house is not huge. Our living room is not huge. But then we rely on our patio, right? Like our pool deck and our screened in area outside, because it's year round entertaining, except it was freezing cold and nobody wanted to go outside. So everybody was packed. It was like, we had like over 50 people and everybody
that sounds more fun to me anyway. That sounds awesome.
It was fun, but yeah, live and learn. So it was just funny when you were saying that. I was like, I wonder if there's any things where you're like, don't do that. But I love the plan ahead, and make your list and just keep it as easy and simple as possible with as much stuff that you can make ahead
and all of that. And I'm going to throw in another little tip about being intimidated. I think people are intimidated about entertaining people with their food because they're like, they might not like my food. I think it's okay to throw in a few things that you might not eat yourself.
Right.
It's like the soups and chilies and stuff like that. Like, I like to have the pork rinds and the Quest chips, hollow chips and stuff like that. But I also get tortilla chips that someone else might want. I'm fine with that. Like, I don't want to make people feel like you have to eat the way I eat.
Right.
So you come to my home, I'd say 80% of it is going to be.
Yes. I love that tip. And I would say I really follow that as well when we entertain. And because like I said, most of our friends do eat that way, but not everybody. And you want to not make people feel weird about stuff and not make a big deal. And we never say anything either. It just is like, here's our food.
I wanted to throw that in because that's something I kind of came to terms with over the years and have had to work through myself, because I would be like really nervous about the food and stuff. Like, I've relaxed into those things.
Yeah.
I really have a problem with, like, I would even dread going out to eat, checking the menu before I went and everything. Like, I was not relaxed at all. And that's no way to live either.
That's very true. And was it because you had struggled with your weight for so long?
Yes.
That it was
I was just scared of any carb touching my food. Like, I have had to really heal my relationship with food. And sometimes I still have to, like, you just have to stay on this mentally. And 2020, the pandemic, and just, I don't know, mentally, I felt a mental shift, like a setback in my mind that I've had to work through since 2020. Like being depressed about things non-food related. Mm-hmm. And it's really easy to go back to those old thoughts and mindsets if you're not staying on top of it. And so for me, I've had to heal the relationship with food, that I'm not scared to death because a potato, I'm serious. I was really bad. Like, I would send food back if it had touched. I would kindly send it back. I don't want anyone to think I was.
I can't imagine you being unkind.
Right. And I would just be like, these mashed potatoes touched my, like, I didn't order potatoes, and like, or I just wouldn't eat it because it had touched. Now that's too overboard.
Yeah.
I'm just sharing that because I really don't want people to live that way, and you don't have to live that way.
No, you don't. And that's good advice too. And I think the pandemic messed with a lot of people's heads. So you're certainly not alone.
I want to share that and be transparent about it, because I think it's really hard if you think other people have it all together and that you're struggling. And I just want to say to whoever out there is watching, that, you don't have to have it all together, and every day's a new day.
Oh, I love that. Well, that feels like the perfect way to wrap up. This was such a joy to be able to talk to you today. Your story is so inspiring. I love your cookbooks. Your advice for entertaining is just so real and makes it feel so accessible. And I think I just love that about you too.
I feel truly blessed to be here. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, that does it for today's interview. And that means that's all I got for you today. I will be back on Monday to talk about a topic I think is going to hit close to home for a lot of us. And that's just exploring some of the biggest underlying reasons you don't feel good, as well as what you can do about it. In the meantime, be sure to check out that new on-demand training video workshop I told you about. It really is a game changer. And remember, you can access it at thinlicious.com/video. Again, that URL is thinlicious.com/video. And then as always, be sure to hit that subscribe or follow button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen. And not only that, if you know anyone else who would find this content useful, please be sure to share it with them. Send them a text, share it on social, share it via email, just shout it from the rooftops. I want to change the world, right? I want to change the world through changing the way people eat, because I really do think if we can help people with their health, we can change the world. So help me with that, okay? Share it, get the word out there. And if you have any questions or just want to connect, you can shoot us an email at hello@thinlicious.com. But that's all for now. We'll see you soon.